Go ahead. Go ahead. Go ahead, guys.
To another episode of Viking Voices, the people of Princeton. I'm Tom Burton, Superintendent, proud to say so. And today, boy, do we have an action-packed episode. We have some world famous people and some people getting ready to be world famous. With us today, Kelsey Mitchell. We're going to introduce her in a second. Former Princeton standout and doing great things right now in life, much more so than her just playing and starring in the WNBA. So Kelsey will be with you in a second. We have two of our unbelievable students. We're going to talk about a wonderful program, the early IT program through the University of Cincinnati, Philip Cole and Robert Butler II. So thanks, gentlemen, for joining us. And to round out the show today, couldn't think of a better way of doing it. One of the selfless servants that we have in our community, Pastor Michael Pearl, who is going to really kind of bring it home with some great stories in general, great passion. The work that he does in our community is absolutely critical for what we do each and every day of empowering students, each student, for college, career, and life success. So before I get into this great program, let me talk about some great things happening right now. Well, first and foremost, special thanks to all the parents out there for the great work that you've done in helping us transition to the school year. We know that the work you've done we're asking for much more than we ever have before. And boy, to say that you've risen to that occasion would be an understatement. You've done an amazing job, and certainly we appreciate all your help and support, ideas, as well as just kind of bonding together as an entire educational community. Then I have to tell you that over the summer, we got notified some great news. We have two more elementary schools that have been notified that they are Hall of Fame elementary schools in the entire state of Ohio. Sharonville Elementary School and Evendale Elementary School have joined Heritage Hill, Springdale, and Woodlawn Elementary School as Hall of Fame elementary schools in the entire state of Ohio. So that's great news to announce. We're really excited. And actually, this specific program, Viking Voices, received two great awards in the last month or so. One was a Philo Award. We got nominated through our great partners, ICRC, who are broadcasting this today. So thanks, gentlemen. And Josh, thanks so much for your help making sure this program goes smoothly. But the Philo Award is an award that's given to specific episodes of public access television. And ours was for the interview and the student interaction portion of it. It was December 2019 edition or episode, and certainly really appreciated being nominated. Getting the award was awesome. And then also a Blue Chip Award. Now the Blue Chip Award, that was just announced last Thursday. When I heard that we got nominated for a Blue Chip Award, I was thinking about, like, back in the day, maybe it was something I had done, but realized that I was pretty much a failed athlete. I knew it had to be something else. And then I was like, wait a second, Blue Chip, what does that actually mean? So unpacking that whole thing, it was really a huge honor for us to receive that because of the work behind the scenes. Dwayne and Elijah have been with us for a couple of years behind the scenes doing the camera work, and really, really excited that they were able to get this designation, as well as Trisha Roddy, who's our Director of Communications, does wonderful work. And we actually are introducing a new intern, Cody, so we certainly appreciate his work this year on this program. But let's get to one of the most exciting, electric basketball players in the history of not only Ohio, but the country. Kelsey Mitchell, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thanks for having me.
So, Kels, I'm going to embarrass you. I know you don't like to hear all these accolades over and over again, but in case you live under a rock, let me just tell you a few things. Kelsey was named Miss Basketball and Ohio Gatorade Player of the Year in 2014, averaging 26 points a game. But I think she'd be more proud of, and I know, Kelsey, you talked about bringing teammates along, and I know Pastor Pearl told a great story about how you're just such a champion of goodwill and bringing and lifting other people up. But the 4.4 assists a game, the 4 rebounds a game, 3-time Inquirer Player of the Year, and the list goes on and on. And I know you had a storied history and career at Ohio State, the Ohio State, excuse me. And
can't forget the
yeah, the great work that you did over there as well. And as you'll soon see when we start talking to Kelsey about Princeton and what she's doing now, you cannot define her just as this unbelievable basketball player. She is much more than that. And like when we talk about student athletes, Kelsey has some big news to announce today, which we're excited about. Another great accolade for who you are with what you accomplished inside the bubble.
Right.
So Kelsey, welcome again. Why don't you talk a little bit about, just tell us what you're doing right now and a little bit about your experience at Princeton.
Well, right now I just, similar to what Mr. Burton just said, I just got out the bubble, quote unquote. We had a season of 22 games. I just finished my 3rd season with the Indiana Fever, and we played in Bradenton, Florida for the 22 games with the pandemic that occurred. So I just got back from that, kind of getting acclimated. Now, it's an amazing accolade, but I can't really get the experience of it because of the pandemic. But I just graduated from the University of Cincinnati. I got my master's in sport administration. I was doing that for about a year and some change. I started last year, or at the end of my rookie year, and I did it the whole year up until now. So it's really, really impressive, I think, to have accomplished it with so much going on, but it was also really hard as heck. I'm not gonna lie, it was aggressive. But I didn't do it for me. I didn't do it for my own personal accolades. I did it for the generations behind me, and hopefully this is a planting seed for me to be in a seat similar to Dr. Burton's. I think I want to use this degree to kind of like help people like Philip and the other student athletes at Princeton High School. Just kind of show that education can go a long way. Right now, although I got my degree, I still think I'm going to go overseas and play basketball. I haven't decided where. I got a little bit more time on my hands, so I'll be around. As far as what Princeton has done for me, the list can go on. Just when I got into in the WNBA, they were a family. They were another family for me. Once I got drafted and I decided I wanted to do camps, Princeton was the first was the first school on my list. I didn't want to go anywhere else. So I did my first Kelsey basketball skills camp there. And I think from then on, I just always knew Princeton would be not only in my back pocket, but in my heart. They've always opened their arms to me and my family on so many levels, the coaches, the teachers, just everything has always been amazing. Princeton really puts being a leadership and how to show leadership on a pedestal. So Princeton has always been amazing to me.
So Kelsey, right after you graduated, I think it was 2 years after you graduated, we embarked on a strategic planning experience, and we settled on a mission statement that for sure Philip would probably be able to say, I heard that every single day, and Robert too last year. But empowering each student for college, career, and life success. So if you go back, the empowering of Princeton happened long before I became superintendent. Great history of Princeton. So how do you feel like Princeton empowered you way back when you were in high school?
Well, I think back to, I don't know if he's still there. I hope he's still there, but Mr. Pogue, he was an English lit teacher when I was in 8th grade. When I got to high school, just being around a single individual like that was amazing. My 8th grade year, I wasn't really in my right state of mind. I wasn't really educationally where I needed to be as far as like knowing how important it was. Really socially, just not doing the things I was supposed to, and I was really becoming a cancer to myself. And people like Mr. Pogue, as well as other teachers from my 8th grade going into my 9th grade year, kind of just taught me that education is going to take me a long way. I always knew it, but I always downplayed it. So Princeton really put me in a position to be successful from a standpoint to know how important education was, and put me and challenged me. So I was with people like Mr. Pogue, Mr. Ty Robbins. He was around. And so individuals like that, Miss Setters from 8th grade, people like that they put me in a position to understand how important education was from a younger standpoint, and I kind of caught on a little earlier, and I was excited that I did, because had I caught on late, there's no telling where I'd be.
So, Kelsey, I mean, obviously education is so critical. It says so much. I mean, you got your master's in about a year and a half, playing professional basketball, training every day, doing appearances, all that stuff. That was a lot.
Yes, it was crazy, because, you know, what's so crazy, guys, is that I was getting a huge part of my degree was getting accomplished overseas. So that put me 7 or 8 hours either ahead or behind, depending on what country I was in, and trying to find printers, find different stuff to make sure I was prepared. It was a lot. It challenged me on so many levels, specifically mentally. I was trying to figure out how to not stay homesick, how to finish school, and be a professional athlete overseas. So that was a big, 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 big challenge for me.
If there is a will, there is a way, right?
There's a way. Always is.
Absolutely. All right. So, Kels, let's talk serious for a second. In our pre-show kind of get together, two of the and let me just praise Pastor Pearl and his basketball playing abilities. But we had talked before about it. Pastor Pearl and I, hey, we're in a 3-point shooting competition just against you.
Right.
I asked you if you would have any chance, and you very humbly said you don't have a chance.
Oh.
So let's just announce right now that at some point in the next year, we're going to do this, and we'll turn it into something fun. We'll go down to St. Monica Center. We'll hear more about that later, and we'll put something on down there. And maybe if I could lose about 30 pounds, find a fountain of youth, I'll go back. And if you spot me like 14 points, I'll play you up to 15.
No. No, I'm pretty familiar with those St. Monica rims too, so I don't know. You might got to pick a different location.
I'm in trouble. Hey, Kelsey, again, I know it was a couple years ago, your rookie year. I had an opportunity to come down to play in person. We had a great conversation before the game, albeit quick, right, because you were getting ready, but then also after the game. And, you know, what really struck me during that time was that, like everybody else, you want to play every second of every game.
Yeah.
And that didn't necessarily happen that game, but you stuck with it. And what I want to say to everybody is that, look, Kelsey's playing at the highest level that you could play. Second round draft choice. You would think that you'd go in right away, and just on what you had done in college, that you're going to start every game of your professional career.
Yeah.
Kelsey, can you talk a little bit about like what you did to stay mentally into it? Because all of our student athletes that are out there, you know, everybody can't start. How did you play at the elite level, all-American, all everything? How did you kind of work through some of those struggles, perhaps?
Honestly, I just weathered the storms, awaited my turn. I think the most important part was knowing that I got put into a system that I had to get adjusted to, and that was just the reality of it. I would just honestly say that you got to keep your head down and keep grinding. It's almost like a shut up and work mentality. I think down the stretch of my rookie year, going into my second year, I kind of knew that it was going to be one of those things where I'm going to have to grind this thing out. It's not going to be given to me. It's not going to be one of those things where, and not that it should have never been like that in the first place. And I'm actually glad it happened the way it happened. I kind of waited my turn. I grinded things out. And I think over time, I think mentally I got better and I knew what I can handle. There's going to be some fatigue in it, but I just felt like it was worth it. So I would just tell student athletes to understand that it's not going to be given to you on any level, especially when you get to that college level, going into your profession, and becoming a professional athlete. It's one of those things where you got to decide what you're willing to sacrifice. And I think that I want to sacrifice all my time and kind of work to be one of the best for the Indiana Fever. And I think over time that'll continue to happen. I think this year was a year for me that I just finished to show that what I can bring to the table. So it was just about wait my turn and kind of like grinding it out and understanding that leadership comes in different forms. Small victories come in different forms. So those small victories, even although my rookie year and my second year wasn't what I wanted it to be, but it was still amazing because look where I am now. So I look forward to it.
Kelsey, I think what you said, I wish every one of our students could see this, right?
Yeah.
Earned, not given.
Oh, never. And that's so crazy because when you get to the professional level, it's like you're not an afterthought, but you're no bigger or smaller than anyone else. Everybody gets it the same way.
Yeah, and I think it doesn't matter whether or not you're playing sports or if you're in the line, so to speak, for school or what have you, or, you know, everyone's getting praise in the classroom and you come up with a great answer, whether it's on Zoom or in person, and the teacher doesn't praise you like they praise other people, like you can have self-doubt and all that. Have you ever been in a situation where you're like, oh, geez, I'm just not getting it done, and you kind of went into a negative mindset?
Oh, yeah, for sure. It was plenty of times when I reached my first year in the WNBA as well as going into my second and not accomplishing the defensive schemes right. I mean, at the time, I'm guarding people like Maya Moore and Diana Taurasi, so it's like you mess up on the defensive schemes, you coming out, and I just couldn't get it. It was a point in my career where I couldn't translate it onto the offensive end, and I knew I wouldn't be on the floor if I couldn't get it on the defensive end. So it was one of those things where I reached a point where it was dark for me. It was dark from a standpoint of how am I going to get out of this? And I mean, it was an answer that only I could answer. So as I said before, I just weathered the storm and continued to work. And honestly, it was one of those things where mentally I needed to be better. Physical, it was going to happen eventually. But mentally, I needed to understand that it was going to be points in my career where it was going to be like this. And those low points were going to happen. And I kind of accepted that for what it was and moved on. So over time, I think that's what made me a little bit more better.
Well, you know, again, those are such unbelievable points. All right, so let me phrase this basketball question a little bit different. Okay, so Pastor Pearl and I can't get you, but what if we added Philip and Robert? I mean, do we stand a better chance?
On my team.
Oh, well, Mike, we're in trouble for sure. There's no way we're gonna compete there. So, Kelsey, again, I so appreciate you being vulnerable enough to talk about some of these aspects, because it's so critical, not only for our students, but the entire community to understand, like, just because you hear about the great Kelsey Mitchell dropping, what was it, 38 points, Indiana Fever record, 38 points. Now, again, this is coming from somebody that the last game of a rookie season wasn't necessarily what she wanted it to be and could have easily said, I'm out. But if you learn something enough, and listen, I still think you played great. You deserve more time, in my opinion.
Thank you.
I'm not the coach. I know you had a fan group there, but ultimately, Kelsey, we are so very proud of you, who you are as a woman, more importantly than anything else. The great standing up, and especially now, and you know, we have these multiple pandemics that we talk about, and one of the things that I know Pastor Pearl and I have talked about, many other people, is really when you look at where we are right now in our country, and when people talk about the pandemic, so many people, especially if you look like me, will say it's COVID-19 related, but the pandemic that is not going to end soon enough is the pandemic of the racial injustice that we see. And so being a strong Black female and doing great things and understanding that your voice is so critical, and what you could help and have people see, have the younger generation see and experience and then emulate you, we couldn't be more proud of who you are and what you do.
I appreciate it. I really do.
Yeah, so thank you for joining us. We're going to be right back on this great episode of Viking Voices, the people of Princeton, and talk to two budding superstars, not on the basketball court, although Philip may share us that way back in the day he was hooping at St. Monica Center, dropping shots from all over the place. I don't know if that's true or not, but we'll find out soon. We'll be right back. All right, now that was just for the cut show, which will happen soon. So we are back right now. Philip Cole and Robert Butler III. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
So Philip, you know, I said your name a couple times in that last episode. So hey, tell us a little bit about who you are and what happened yesterday.
My name is Philip Cole. I am a senior at Princeton. I am currently going down a path of information technology, majoring in cybersecurity. Specifically, I am working to get my CEH certification, which is a certified ethical hacker, for those of you who don't know. And basically, since I've moved here, been at Princeton, I've been interested in technology my whole life, basically. I've been introduced like since the Wii, and then also having parents that were in the IT field a little bit. So that kind of like pushed me through going to information technology, but I didn't exactly know what I wanted to do yet. So then I got to Princeton and I found this program. Well, during eighth grade, it was kind of like a sitting period. I was waiting a little bit. Then to high school, big shout out to Mr. Sullivan. He started teaching a program, the early IT program, and it basically helped me choose what I wanted to do. So that's when I found out that I wanted to go through cybersecurity. So I started taking these classes, and that basically led up to yesterday, where I had this final meeting with everybody from Procter and Gamble, which is the internship that I work. So UC, they had an early IT camp for people where I happened to work with Robert actually in one of my in a project that we did together, coding, and I ended up getting an internship with him, and we worked through it. Visuals, Power BI, a lot of Excel, a lot of files. It was a nice internship. I enjoyed it. It was fun. But yesterday we basically talked about what I did, what we did, what we accomplished, what we learned, and yeah, that was pretty much it.
Okay. And listen, Philip, I know you're the first student that talked yesterday. So the whole program's on our website. On our website, it's at Verify with the great Trisha Roddy. But it is on our website for those of you who would like to check it out. It's a great partnership that we've had for 3 years with the University of Cincinnati. Actually, Philip was one of the first students that signed up for the program, right, Philip?
Yep.
All right. So, Robert, now flash forward 3 years. Sophomore, the youngest, I believe the youngest or close to the youngest intern at Procter and Gamble. So talk a little bit about your experience.
Okay, yeah. So with my experience with P&G, I had an amazing time. When I first went in, it was a lot of information and I was very confused, but Procter and Gamble, they chipped in and they were able to supply me with 2 great, amazing managers that helped me work through it. And I got to do some very awesome things and complete some very cool things. And I also had a chance to communicate with people, not only in Cincinnati, but in the Philippines and in China. So I got a chance to learn some of their culture and some of their language. And then I also had a chance to dive into some coding and working with ticket processing, because I actually didn't want to do it, but my mother put me into the early IT summer camp. And I was like, well, it's something new and I would love to further my knowledge. And then the next day I got an email about an internship with P&G and my eyes just lit up because it was something new and I had been wanting a job and now I could stay home and actually get paid. So it was an amazing experience. And I know if I had the chance to do it again, I would definitely do it again. And for anybody that wants to try something new, I would definitely recommend going to the early IT summer camp through UC and seeing where it goes from there.
So, Robert, it's really funny, some of the things that you've talked about. When you look at these experiences and your mom kind of put you in it, you didn't really think about it, but you had this great attitude. And the great attitude is, well, it's something new, I'm going to try it, and I'm getting paid. So certainly appreciate that honesty. Robert, how do you feel empowered at Princeton?
I feel empowered every day to become a new man, to become something that the world needs. I feel empowered to take out limitations in my life and put in opportunities, and Princeton gives me the ability to do that. And I know without Princeton, I probably wouldn't be here today. So I thank Princeton and the administrative board.
Well, thanks, Robert. You did a great job yesterday. You continue to do a great job today. So, Philip, senior year, this pandemic, so crazy. I know we talked about the multiple pandemics, but when you look at COVID, did you ever anticipate being at home your entire senior year, maybe?
I didn't actually. When we first left school last year for the pandemic, I was like, oh, this gonna be over in a couple months. And I was surprised that after I came back from Chicago when I was working my internship, and I came back and it like kind of got worse for a little bit. I was like, oh, I'm about to be at home, and it really shocked me. I wasn't really expecting it, but I just got to kind of adapt to it, get adapted to the changes and whatnot.
Boys, what unbelievable messaging we're hearing today from both Kelsey and Robert and Philip. You have to adapt, and sometimes that's what's going to get us through, is the whole adapting to something new. So Robert, talk a little bit about how you've adapted your schedule, because you're fully remote as well, correct? You and Philip?
Yes.
So talk a little bit about how you adapted. Like, what does it look like for your remote learning?
So for remote learning, I usually have a class like 8 o'clock in the morning, but I know that teachers constantly are posting work. So I've had to condition myself from waking up around 8 o'clock to go to school normally to waking up around 5, 6 o'clock in the morning so that I can be focused and thrive and to get my work done. The scheduling and everything it's a lot, but if you push through it and you have that grinder's mentality, you'll be able to make it through.
Mike, I saw you smile there. Are you serious? I mean, the greatest kids in the world. I am telling you, Robert, woo, that was something. You got Cole smiling, you got Pastor Pearl smiling, everybody here who are making this happen with a great partnership with ICRC smiling as well. Philip, talk a little bit about your plans for the future. Next year, that's it. So what's going on?
So next year, I am definitely going into UC. I'm going to continue my cybersecurity track. Currently, I am taking a course with UC. It's a co-op course that I have to take so that I can start my internship the summer 2021. And what they have me doing is making resumes, just preparing for the work experience in the real world. So what I plan to do is I want to rack up all my get like a bunch of certifications, like just to like help me, make me seem like the real deal. So that's what I'm going to be working on. Yeah, just study.
Well, Robert, you are the real deal. Hey, have you sat for any certifications yet?
No, not yet, but I am gonna start working on my CEH. I've seen like online there are some programs that can help you study for exams. I think there's like a lab that you have to complete before you take the exam, so I'll be looking into that in a few weeks.
All right, so Philip, I had no idea you haven't sat for certification yet, and I had no idea that there was this lab. But let me say it right now on television, and you hold me to it. Everybody can hold me to it. We'll take care of all that for you and for your classmates.
Okay, yeah.
The whole thing. So you have to do some research.
Okay.
Talk to Mr. Sullivan. Let Mr. Sullivan know. He may be watching right now, as many other administrators probably are watching as well. We'll take care of that for you. We are very supportive of not only you, but your classmates. That's one of the reasons why we could honestly say that we're empowering each student for college, career, and life success. So Philip, in closing, then we're going to get a final closing comment or two from Robert. In closing, I know we talked to Robert a little bit about empowering, but for you going through Princeton, now your senior year, how have you felt empowered? And we got you. Our job's not done when you graduate. We're going to still be here for you. But
Right.
Talk a little bit about how you feel empowered.
I had a couple of teachers, including Mr. Sullivan, Dr. McDonald Gordon, and Miss Setters. They were pretty much my favorite teachers. I've been working with Dr. McDonald Gordon since 8th grade. And she was like a little bit on the stricter side, but it was kind of helping me become stay on the right track, and it really helped. And then moving on to high school with Miss Setters and Dr. McDonald Gordon, also doing the same thing. And then moving on to my sophomore, junior year when I didn't have them anymore, Mr. Sullivan was kind of there to keep me in those IT classes and keep working towards my goal.
So the empowerment, you would say, was the staff really taking a keen interest in who you are and what you do.
Yes.
Awesome. All right, Robert, what are some final thoughts? Sophomore, one of the youngest early IT students. Do you still feel you're going to pursue this for the next couple of years?
I definitely feel I can keep pursuing it because of the future that it has and the way the world is changing. But I also like to do some things with finance and whatnot, and possibly one day I could go into investing into a new building for Princeton, like a brand new building or something.
Well, okay, let's talk serious. Now, Mike, you heard that. We got it right here. It's going to be the Robert Butler II building at Princeton, which will be the IT. Mr. Lockhart, Chris Lockhart, who's our director of technology, he actually wrote that down. He has plans already. But Robert, it's great that you feel empowered. We're so thrilled to have both you and Philip on the program today at Viking Voices, the people of Princeton. We're going to get with Mike Pearl here in a second. So we'll be right back with you. Thank you, gentlemen. All right, Pastor Mike Pearl, the legend. Pastor Mike Pearl. Mike, I don't know what it was, 4 or 5 years ago when he had an opportunity to first meet. But I tell you, you could tell your energy and your passion for those that you serve. It's just amazing. And, regardless of what you've done during the COVID pandemic, what you're doing beforehand really shows you're intimately involved, not only in our Princeton community, but other communities as well. In fact, I know you just recently accepted a position on a local school board, and you just continue to give and give and give. So, Mike, why don't you talk a little bit about what you do on a daily basis, and we'll talk about Princeton and Pearl here soon.
Great. Thanks, Mr. Burton, for having me. I tell you what, just listening to Philip and Robert, and of course, the great Kelsey Mitchell, you can't help but to be encouraged and empowered yourself. Fellas, congratulations on all of your accomplishments, and look forward to hearing great things in your future. You guys have really fired me up this morning.
Thank you.
I am so privileged to run St. Monica's Recreation Center in Lincoln Heights, Ohio. Lincoln Heights is a community center, essentially, that serves kids 6 to 16 here in the village of Lincoln Heights, who we are sponsored by or supported by an organization of ladies called the Sisters of the Transfiguration, Episcopalian sisters. They're located right up the street in Glendale. And they've been in this community for a long, long time, over 50 years. And I'm so privileged to, be here now for about 10 and a half years, serving the wonderful residents and kids, especially of Lincoln Heights. And I can tell you, Mr. Burton, and you and I have had many conversations about, even before the pandemic, just how important it is to have community partners. And I know since you've taken over as the superintendent, you've really made that a priority. And so thank you for not just what you've done in Lincoln Heights for St. Monica's and for this community, but just broadly, just because how important it is having community partners. And I think it speaks volumes to the success that, our students are having here in Lincoln Heights, but also the success that all Princeton kids are having because of all the wonderful community partners. And so thank you for letting me be one of those.
Well, Mike, you're integral, as you know, the great work. And in fact, we have a faith-based meeting that we try to pull the entire religious community in, non-denominational, everyone's welcome. So if you're listening and you would like to be involved and you're part of our educational community, please reach out to us and we'll make sure you get an invitation to the next one, which I believe is in December. Is that right? Okay. I have to every once in a while verify. So, ultimately, Mike, I know you do some other things. You're also the pastor at New Day. And you want to talk a little bit about the role there and
Sure.
passing that on?
Sure. New Day Baptist Church was started about 7 years ago. Just me and my family. We ventured out and we started the church actually in Hamilton. We were there for about 2.5, 3 years. Where we were meeting at in that hotel, they went through some changes. And so we temporarily moved to St. Monica's, having church on Sunday mornings. And quite frankly, we just haven't left. We've been here ever since. And it's a unique relationship where, because I work in the community, the church has been involved in a lot of the activities and programs that St. Monica's it provides. And again, it just shows the value and the strength that is in partnerships and working together. And so it's a privilege to serve at that capacity, as well as the center director for St. Monica's. It's a privilege to serve the wonderful folks that attend New Day. In light of the pandemic, we haven't been meeting except for online, but even that's been remarkable as well. Like Philip, we didn't expect to be in this thing this long. But again, because of the resiliency of a community and the families and all the partners, including Princeton, specifically also Lincoln Heights Elementary School and Mrs. Bailey, it's just phenomenal that we can rally together in times like this for the betterment of the community and specifically the kids.
And Mike, if we go back to what was that? It was probably March 15th, right around there. March 12th is when the decision was made that we were going to be out for a while. It was March 15th, Mike and I spoke, and I know you'd already set up all these systems, and there were going to be food distributions and all of that. And, I remember one of our local partners, La Rosa's, had called and said, they'd be glad to donate, just let us know. And so I thought instantly about St. Monica's and the work that Mike would do. You would figure that, Mike, we have all this food, we're going to take care of everything. And we had to actually schedule a day or days when I would be able to bring over food because so many people stepped up.
Yeah, truly. In light of what was going on in that time, especially earlier on, it was hard, it was rough, it was scary, it was uncertain. But in that time, so many people rallied together. We had area churches, churches from Wyoming, Glendale, right here in Lincoln Heights, Reconcile Community Church, Pastor Brandon Woodard, Pastor Mac, who also works at Princeton, his church chipped in. So many folks just rallied together, and you're right. And we didn't see that happening. We didn't know that was going to happen. We knew we had to do something because so many of our young people, they not only go to school for the education, they go for the love and support of the teachers and administration, but they also go to get a hot meal, and they look forward to those meals. And so we knew we had to jump in, and Princeton was already on top of it, looking at distributing meals in the morning and in the afternoon. But Tom and his team, Dr. Phillips, Don Bailey from Lincoln Heights Elementary School, all chimed in, and literally we probably for 16 weeks, every day of the week, Monday through Friday, we were so fortunate to be able to pass out as many as 300 meals every single night. And the families that came, the young people that came, everybody was so appreciative. I think besides just putting food in people's bellies, it gave people comfort, it gave people some hope that we are in this together, literally. And I think that's what helped get us through.
Yeah, Don Bailey, Mike if you remember, you'd invited me to come and share a few thoughts on a Saturday at your weekly call, and couldn't get to all of them, but I know that when I was on there, and then all of a sudden I heard this familiar voice, and I was like, Don, man, Miss Bailey, she is everywhere, and that commitment. And the thing that I can honestly say, Dawn's great. The other principals, they did the same thing. And how lucky I am to work the leadership team that I do that during this pandemic that did wonderful, wonderful things for sure. Mike, I'm going to throw out a big number here that you're going to be ready to hear because I know just the numbers that you talked about were big. Since the pandemic, for sure, over 250,000 meals, 250,000 meals. It was shortly thereafter, and Ms. Roddy, please correct me if I'm wrong, but we got to 100,000 and then we crept over that. But right now, one of the concerns is that we have remote learners like Robert and Philip, and Robert and Philip may not have the need. They may not have the need, but other people may have that need. So we're actually still doing food distributions and still getting out there. And I know you're doing great work still, Mike. And I know earlier you talked about the community partner aspect of it. And Trisha Roddy and I were at a business community partnership breakfast with 38 partners. I'll never forget this, 38. And I remember I was interim superintendent and I said to the board, we'll have over 100 next year. And everybody looked at me and were thinking I'm crazy. Well, I am probably a little bit crazy, but the point of the matter is that if you set your goals and you're going to work hard at that, so it doesn't matter whatever it may be. You listen to Kelsey. Kelsey she was like, I'm going to play a ton in WNBA. I need to continue to work. I need to continue to grow. She's at the elite level. She didn't have to go get her master's, but she did because she wanted to continue to make a difference. When you look at Philip, what he did, right? Making sure he wants to do this. He's got a goal. As you talk about it, he will be at UC. He will finish his stuff, and he will be making probably more money than all of us pretty soon. And he may have to go into partnership with Robert with the great work that he does. But you have to have goals. You have to be able to work. Mike, can you talk a little bit about the importance of that in your realm?
Yeah. You know, so often, and you know this, Mr. Burton, so often, you know, when good things happen, it's the one that's out front that sometimes gets all the accolades, the pats on the back, the applause. But just like you mentioned, the other principals besides Mrs. Bailey that stepped up, and how fortunate you are to have just wonderful people working with you. You know, I don't like saying people work for me. I like to say we work together. And I have a wonderful, wonderful staff of committed people who simply just love these young people. And we love them even at their worst sometimes, when they're not behaving, when things aren't going well for them. And we love them through those tough situations. And it's in that everybody is made stronger. The young people are made stronger, the center is made stronger, and the whole organization then is made stronger because of a wonderful team of people who simply want the best for everybody. And we're so fortunate that God has blessed us, and I'm blessed to have just a wonderful team of staff who see stuff that I don't necessarily see. They can, and not only do they see problems, but they'll say, hey, here's what we can do to fix it. Here's what we can do to help. And it's that empowers me in and of itself and motivates me to keep going. Tom, you know, I have to mention this too, that over the years, we've lost a lot of lives. And in the village of Lincoln Heights, a lot of young people, all students of Princeton. And I can say, you know, without hesitation, that Princeton, the Tom Burton, Dr. Phillips, Mr. Ballmer, Dr. Maxim, and of course Don Bailey, you know, I appreciate the way that you all always rally behind us. We sometimes in those moments, all of us are hurting, all of us struggle. We're trying to navigate how do we get through this, because not only as adults are we trying to help our young people through it and to help the families through it, but we're going through it too. And again, it's that community partnership that even, you know, besides pandemics, but anything that happens in a community that is hurtful or harmful, you know, we rally together and see what we can do. So Tom, just thank you for always showing up, empowering your staff, your administrators to show up, emails, text messages that I get from folks that if something's going on, just that working together. Again, we can't lose in that situation. And it's because of the strength that is in partnership.
Well, it certainly takes a village. In fact, I sent an email out really early this morning, and I was talking specifically about that. And while maybe that phrase is certainly overused, or it takes a village to raise a child, it takes a village to teach a child to read and so forth. There's all that. But really, when you look at everybody kind of coming together and staying together, it's so very, very critical. And if you just look at the food distributions, Jean Sparks and what she was able to do, John Fricky and Top Kutel, and literally the list goes on and on. Our coordinators and directors and everybody, you know, Tanya West Wright, who's our executive director of pre-K-12 curriculum, the lift that she's had to have is just amazing. She was a director of elementary, and then she took the entire district during this pandemic and trying to keep us all going so that Philip and Robert and their colleagues would be able to have enriching curriculum to make sure that they're learning at high levels. And just what Robert said earlier, I mean, that amazed me, because I would have thought it would have been a little bit different, Robert. But you getting up earlier to make sure that you're focused, that's a story that Miss Roddy knows I'm going to be telling over and over again, because it just shows, like, when you go remote, it doesn't mean that learning stops. And it's just like, Mike, when you're preaching on Sundays, you know, the gospel doesn't stop just because we're virtual, right?
Amen.
Yeah, there you go. So, Mike, thanks so much for joining us.
My pleasure.
So inspirational. We will continue to be there continue to work with you, the great work that you do. And, you know, we just need to get you coaching at Princeton sometime. That's all. So those listening empowered to do so, let's get Mike Pearl over on this side of the tracks even more. But Philip and Robert, thanks so much for joining us. Kelsey, I know I had to run, and this is great. Another great message and a great message to end on is that here's Kelsey. She carved out time to send a message to a whole educational community that she loves. That nurtured her, but she's nurtured us too. She had to leave because she went to practice. Like, it does not stop. You have to stay on the grind, whether it is learning, honing your craft, whatever that may be. But each and every day, you have to take that opportunity to be the very best you can be. So again, Robert Butler II, thank you so much. Philip Cole Sr., Philip Cole, thank you. Mike Pearl, Pastor Pearl, thank you so much. Hey, and Philip and Robert, you know what I'm getting ready to say.
I already know.
And as always, go Vikes.
Go Vikes.
All right. Bye, guys. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you for the opportunity. It's amazing.